Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are grabbing a pocket full of quarters and setting the time machine for 1980. If you were walking into an arcade back then, I mean, yeah, it was noisy, sure, but 1980 was the year of that noise. It stopped being just random beeps, it started becoming music. This was like the revolution where video game sound truly found its voice.
It's a really crucial distinction. For you listening, you have to understand that before this year, audio was mostly just functional. A bloop meant you fired, a buzz meant you hit something. Pretty basic.
Right.
But in 1980, the designers really started thinking of audio as, well, an emotional lever, a storytelling tool even, and a way to give a game its own identity.
Exactly. So we dove deep into the historical records, looked at sources analyzing that pivotal year. Our mission today, it's a countdown. The top 5 games in 1980 that really innovated with sound and music. We're specifically looking at the tech breakthroughs, but also the cultural shifts that kicked off. This is a deep dive into the very beginnings of modern game audio.
Yeah, these games didn't just tweak things. They laid the entire foundation for how we compose, how we implement, and how we experience audio in games today. It's huge.
Okay, let's unpack this, starting at number 5.
Right.
Kicking off our countdown at number 5, we've got the fixed shooter classic, Carnival. Now, okay, on the surface, it's a shooting gallery game, right? Shoot targets moving across the screen, pretty standard arcade stuff for the time. But what makes its audio so revolutionary? Why is it on this list?
Well, what's fascinating here is that the designers took this huge cultural leap, really. Most game sounds were purely electronic tones, right? Made by the machine's chip. Carnival, though, it decided to bring in the outside world. It was one of the very first examples of using a recognizable classical tune.
Whoa, classical. That
Yeah.
feels almost rebellious for that era. Why use classical music in a fast-paced shooter?
The sources point to them specifically using the melody Over the Waves, this very famous waltz tune. Think about the effect. You're in this loud, probably crowded arcade, and suddenly this elegant, almost stately melody starts playing. Maybe when you hit a bonus round or scored well. It gave you this moment of contrast, right? A surprising emotional texture that other games just didn't have. It showed game music could be more than just synthesized noise. It could be sophisticated, even borrowed.
It has a bit of gravity, doesn't it? Makes a simple shooting gallery feel, I don't know, grander somehow. That's a huge shift in just the ambition for audio. Moving up the charts now to number 4, we find another fixed shooter for the arcade, Phoenix. So if Carnival is about importing elegance, Phoenix seems to prove that sound was quickly becoming, well, an aggressive marketing tool, designed purely to grab your ear.
That's exactly right. In that noisy, competitive arcade hall of the early 80s, volume and drama were like currency. Phoenix got huge fame, partly because the gameplay was solid, sure, but crucially because it knew how to announce itself. It made noise.
So pure spectacle then. What specific sound innovation did it introduce that really cut through all that arcade noise?
Well, it was known for its dramatic and attention-grabbing opening theme. That's the key phrase from the sources. And this theme wasn't just a simple little chime. It was a complex arrangement for the time, like a fanfare, really designed to make people stop walking and look at the cabinet. It was basically a sonic trailer for the game.
A sonic trailer. I like that.
Yeah. Imagine you're a potential player walking by, maybe looking for what to spend your next quarter on, and this huge, sweeping theme starts up. You instantly know, okay, this game feels high stakes, it feels cinematic, it kind of compels you to check it out.
That makes perfect sense. It's like the game is shouting, "Look at me, I'm important," using audio not just for the player, but for everyone around the player too. Clever. All right, now we hit number 3, and here's where it gets really interesting, because at number 3, we have Rally X, a classic maze game from Namco. And this title introduced a fundamental change in gameplay audio, something we totally take for granted today.
Rally X basically solved one of the biggest headaches game designers had back then. See, historically, music was used for short bursts. The attract screen, the intro jingle, maybe a little tune when you died.
Right, little snippets?
Exactly. But when the actual game, like the maze part, began, the music usually just stopped. You were left with maybe engine sounds or simple effects.
Why was that?
Because the hardware bandwidth was just so limited. They often couldn't process continuous music, and the complex logic of the game running at the same time is too much for the poor chips.
Wow, that's fascinating context. So they literally had to choose between gameplay stability and having a soundtrack.
Pretty much, yeah. Or at least a continuous soundtrack. So how did Rally X break this rule? They engineered a way, they figured it out. Rally X was the first game, according to the sources, to feature continuous melodic background music during the actual gameplay. The first, with continuous melodic music playing while you played. Now, it wasn't just noise. It was an ongoing driving track, okay? Maybe a little loop, yes, but it never stopped while you were racing through that maze. It was a monumental shift, both technically and in terms of design philosophy.
Continuous music.
Yeah.
That means the sound is now totally inseparable from the experience itself. It must have completely changed the feeling of tension. Like, without that constant beat, the game probably feels stop-start. With it, you feel, I don't know, constantly under pressure.
Exactly right. It maintained this relentless pace. And if you think about maze games, they're inherently tense, right? Dodging enemies, finding your way. But the continuous music added this layer of sustained anxiety, but also excitement. It gave the game a personality, a rhythm. It even probably influenced how fast players felt they needed to drive. This move proved music could be a core part of the game's mechanics and mood, not just, a little reward jingle.
Okay, we are down to the top 2 innovators of 1980.
Yeah.
Slipping into the number 2 spot, it's the iconic scrolling shooter Defender. So we've talked about importing music with Carnival, dramatic themes in Phoenix, continuous melody in Rally X. What shift did Defender represent? What was its big audio idea?
Defender represents the turn toward pure sonic atmosphere. This game was famously difficult, like really frantic and overwhelming. The hardware limitations meant they couldn't create these lush orchestral sounds we hear now. So instead, they focused intensely on complex sound effects and layering them. Layering effects to create this feeling of total high-stakes panic.
Ah, okay. So it wasn't about a catchy tune to hum later. It was about using sound to immerse you in chaos.
Precisely. Defender featured these complex sound effects, specifically designed, the sources say, to create a frantic sci-fi atmosphere. If you remember the game, or maybe look it up, the sounds were often metallic, high-pitched, and they overlapped constantly. You'd hear the sound of the little humanoids being kidnapped, the laser blasts, the radar sweep. Phew, it was a lot. Each sound wasn't just describing something, it felt aggressive.
Yeah, I can imagine back in 1980, these layered sound effects must have been genuinely jarring. And exciting, too. It makes the player feel like they're right there inside this chaotic, futuristic battlefield, constantly under threat. The sound is actually part of the difficulty curve.
It absolutely was. It used audio not really for melody, but for texture. They used every technical trick they could muster to make the player feel trapped, but also engaged in this intense, futuristic battle. It really set the standard for action game sound design for years to come, that atmospheric approach.
And now, the moment we've all been waiting for. The game that sits right at the top of our countdown for sound innovation in 1980. Why? Because its simple, charming sound somehow transcended the arcade. They became this universal, global language. And number 1, Pac-Man.
Yes. Maximum enthusiasm definitely required here. Pac-Man, the classic maze game. It's legendary for its success, obviously, but its sound design is just profoundly subtle, yet so deeply effective. It proved that sometimes simplicity is the most powerful tool for creating an identity.
It did more with just a few simple beeps and electronic pulses than almost any game before it. Those sounds are instantly identifiable. It doesn't matter if you played the game for 5 minutes or 5,000 hours. You know those sounds.
Right. The sources confirm that Pac-Man really defined how games could use audio to establish a global brand identity. It's noted for its iconic opening jingle, obviously, but maybe even more importantly, for having sound effects that are globally recognized. I mean, think about the Waka Waka sound as Pac-Man eats the dots.
Oh, yeah.
That isn't just a sound effect telling you something happened. It's rhythmic. It's like this digital metronome that links directly to the action of moving and eating. It's almost Pavlovian.
Huh. I wonder if the designers knew they were basically creating the digital version of Pavlov's bell.
Yeah.
That Waka Waka sound, it really drives the player forward. And what about the siren?
Ah, the siren. That plays when the ghosts are chasing you. It's high-pitched, it's urgent. It perfectly communicates fear and speed without needing any visuals beyond the ghosts themselves.
Yeah, get your heart rate up.
Totally. And then, when Pac-Man eats a power pellet, that sudden shift to a triumphant little tune and the deeper, slower, ghost-munching sound, it provides immediate auditory relief and empowerment. These simple sounds tell you everything you need to know about the game state. Fun, fear, triumph, all communicated without a single word. They became a universal language.
Wow. So let's just quickly recap the huge changes we saw in this single year, 1980. We moved from the the cultural import of classical tunes in Carnival, to the high-drama theme music of Phoenix, then to the revolutionary continuous soundtrack of Rally X, to the frantic, layered, atmospheric effects of Defender, and finally, capping it off, the creation of instant, globally recognized sonic identity with Pac-Man. That's quite a year.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now?
Well, looking at this whole trajectory, what really jumps out is that 1980, it feels like the year game audio became a critical discipline in itself. Like designers realized sound wasn't just something the machine made, it was something that could define the whole experience.
Absolutely. 1980 marked that moment sound became a deliberate, critical feature of video game design, not an afterthought. These 5 titles, they show this clear, rapid evolution. They demonstrated sound could be used for elegance, like in Carnival, for marketing, like Phoenix's theme, for sustaining tension, with Rally X's music, for creating that high-stakes atmosphere in Defender, and of course for establishing an unparalleled cultural footprint with Pac-Man. Before 1980, sound was often, just there. After 1980, it was an expectation, a core part of the design.
And for you, the listener, this is why these seemingly simple 8-bit sounds really matter today. The techniques pioneered in these 5 games, this whole idea that sound should support the mood, drive the gameplay, create a recognizable brand, that laid the foundation for pretty much every piece of sophisticated game music and audio design we hear today, whether it's like a 100-piece orchestral score on your fancy modern console.
Or even just the simple, addictive little chime on your phone app when you score points. Yeah, every sound engineer today designing some modern, cinematic soundscape owes a debt to the frantic atmosphere cooked up by Defender's chaos, and definitely to the relentless driving loop of Rally X. It all started somewhere.
It's a truly fascinating heritage, isn't it? So here's something I want you to consider. Just mull this over. How many modern musical motifs, those earworm jingles you can't get out of your head, or even just cultural sound clips, how many might unconsciously trace their origins all the way back to these simple yet totally revolutionary sounds bubbling out of those 1980 arcade cabinets? Think about the incredible power packed into just a few bits of audio data that ended up defining a whole generation. We hope this dive helped you gain some knowledge quickly but thoroughly. If you enjoyed learning about these sounds that really defined a generation, please like and subscribe. We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.
Ranked and Reloaded.